In this video, we followed the entire story of Lelouch v Britannia from Code Geass. The story starts with young Lelouch and Suzaku playing. Not long after, Marianne, Lelouch's mother, is killed. When Lelouch arrives, he is horrified. Later, he confronts Charles about his mother's murder. Charles dismisses him and sends Lelouch and Nunnally to Japan as political tools. Lelouch witnessed Britannia invading Japan. Suzaku accepts their fate, but Lelouch burns with rage and vows to destroy Britannia one day. 7 years later, Japan is Area 11, completely under Britannia's control. Anyone who resists is called a terrorist. At school, Lelouch and his friend Rivals interrupt a chess match, confidently betting he can win in under 9 minutes. By accident, Lelouch and Rivals crash into a truck. Inside, Lelouch discovers terrorists and meets Callan, piloting a nightmare to fight Britannia's army. The truck crashes again, and Suzaku appears, now a Britannian soldier, and is ordered to shoot Lelouch. He refuses and is shot instead. During the chaos, C2 shields Lelouch from a bullet and offers him a contract, the power of kings, Geass. He accepts. Lelouch commands the soldiers to kill themselves, and they obey. Later, Lelouch faces Valletta in a nightmare. He learns Geass requires eye contact, tricks her into leaving the machine, and takes it for himself. Lelouch joins the resistance, guiding Callan through strategy. Clovis releases the Lancelot. Until the Lancelot saves civilians, Lelouch escapes. Disguised as a soldier, Lelouch infiltrates Clovis's base. Using Geass, he stops the execution of the terrorists. He confronts Clovis, who knows nothing about his mother's death. Lelouch kills Clovis, revealing himself as Lelouch Vesican Britannia. The next day, Lelouch returns to school as if nothing happened. The news calls Clovis's death a terrorist attack. He realizes Callan was the nightmare pilot and uses Geass to confirm it, but fails to erase her memory. He learns Geass works only once per person. That night, Lelouch shares a quiet moment with Nunnally, promising never to lie to her. To protect his identity, he tricks Callan into believing Zero couldn't be him. Soon after, the news announces Suzaku's arrest for Clovis's murder. Lelouch comforts Nunnally while secretly preparing Zero's identity. Clovis's memorial, Lelouch slips away. As Zero, he meets the resistance and shows them the divide between Britannian cities and the ruins of Area 11, declaring the Empire as their true enemy. Jeremiah publicly transfers Suzaku, but Zero interrupts, claiming responsibility for Clovis's death. He uses Geass on Jeremiah with the word orange, forcing him to help their escape. Zero tries to recruit Suzaku, but Suzaku refuses. At Lelouch's home, chaos turns comedic as C2 moves in, and Nunnally thinks they're engaged. Lelouch panics. He later learns the orange incident was false information he planted himself. Suzaku's arrival at school causes outrage, as students reject having an 11 terrorist among them. Lelouch secretly meets him on the roof, where Suzaku suggests ending their friendship to protect each other, but nothing is decided. Later, Suzaku visits Lelouch and Nunnally, and they reunite warmly. C2 questions Lelouch's choice to keep Suzaku close, but he remains confident. Chaos breaks out when a cat steals Zero's helmet, turning the campus into a chase. Millie makes it a game. Lelouch nearly falls from the roof, and Suzaku saves him. The helmet is recovered, Lelouch's identity stays secret, Nunnally gives them a kiss, and Suzaku joins the student council. The day ends with the Emperor's speech about survival of the strongest, reminding Lelouch and Suzaku that they share the same enemy. Cornelia announces a public attack on the Saitama ghetto to lure Zero out. Lelouch knows it's a trap but goes anyway. C2 tries to stop him at gunpoint, but Lelouch points the gun at himself, saying a life without purpose is already death. C2 gives in. Lelouch infiltrates the battlefield, steals a nightmare, and joins the resistance. His plan starts well, but Cornelia pulls back her forces and orders all pilots to open their cockpits, cornering him. At the last moment, C2 appears dressed as Zero, creating confusion and allowing Lelouch to escape. Afterwards, Lelouch vows to create an entire nation strong enough to defeat Britannia. After Lelouch hears about terrorists seize a luxury hotel, Lelouch forms a new group, the Order of the Black Knights, and leads them into action. He convinces Cornelia to let him pass, claiming he'll save Euphemia. Inside, Zero uses Geass to make the terrorists turn on each other, and the hotel collapses. But Zero escapes with all hostages. He reveals himself publicly as the leader of the Black Knights. The Black Knights discover Refrain, a hallucinogenic drug, and raid a shipment. Lelouch relaxes by the pool, reviewing Black Knight's applications, and spots a suspicious Britannian name. Suspecting a spy, he explains his plan. Britannia spreads terror, while the Black Knights fight it, becoming heroes. The Black Knights receive new nightmares, including the powerful Gurren Mickey II, assigned to Callan as ace pilot. Later, Zero secretly prepares the battlefield using Geass. Cornelia's forces surround the mountain, trapping everyone. Panic spreads, and Tamaki even threatens Zero. Zero declares they either live with him or die with him. Callan activates Zero's plan, triggering a massive landslide that devastates Britannia's army. With most of Britannia's forces wiped out, Lelouch declares the next objective, capturing Cornelia. Seeing the battle reach its peak, Zero decides it's time to corner Cornelia. Just as the JLF is about to fall, Todo and his unit arrive and charge straight at the princess. Right as Callan is about to defeat Cornelia, the Lancelot appears and saves her. The fight is fierce, but Lancelot manages to knock Callan off a cliff. With his ace down, Zero orders a retreat, but is cornered before the Lancelot can fire. C2 steps between them. She touches the machine and releases a psychic shock. Lelouch touches C2 to help and is pulled into the same nightmare. Panicking, Lancelot fires wildly, losing the Battle of Narita. Later, inside a cave, Lelouch treats C2's wounds and hears her real name while she's unconscious. When she wakes, she admits she no longer remembers who she truly is. Lelouch thanks her sincerely for the first time and repeats her name, leaving her speechless. Callan then finds them and meets C2 for the first time. The battle may be over, but the damage remains. Britannia's morale collapses while support for the Black Knights explodes. Shirley finally asks Lelouch out to a concert, unaware of his double life. Zero meets the Kyoto group atop Mount Fuji. When asked to remove his mask, C2 does it, revealing Taizo Kirihara, a double agent. Lelouch privately shows his face and Kirihara pledges loyalty. That night, Lelouch finds her crying in the rain. Shirley learns her father died in a Black Knights-caused landslide. She asks if Zero really protects the weak, collapses into his arms, kisses him, and begs for help. At the funeral, Lelouch feels guilty. C2 mocks him, asking if he only regrets killing people he knows. He snaps, saying he crossed the point of no return when he killed Clovis. Zero frames the JLF by destroying an oil tanker. In the final clash, Zero and Callan corner Cornelia until Lelouch sees Shirley and freezes. The Lancelot destroys Zero's nightmare and Lelouch faints. When wakes up, Lelouch realizes his gun is gone. A man named Mao arrives in Narita with the ability to read minds and targets Shirley. He challenges Lelouch to a chess game in a cable car, predicts every move, and takes control of Shirley, forcing her to point a gun at Lelouch. To save her, Lelouch erases all her memories of him with Geass. C2 explains Mao's powers and obsession, then meets him at an abandoned amusement park. It's a trap. Mao shoots her repeatedly. Lelouch's plan is revealed when the police arrive, believing Mao is a threat and gun him down. Later, Lelouch and C2 renew their pact. He swears to master Geass and not lose himself like Mao. The Black Knights grow stronger across Japan, gaining new nightmares while arrested members reveal nothing. Lelouch secretly sends C2 to contact the Chinese Federation, not knowing Mao is still alive. Mao kidnaps Nunnally and gives Lelouch 5 hours. Lelouch and Suzaku team up, find her in the sewers with a bomb, and confront Mao in a church. Mao reads Lelouch's mind and seems to win, until it's revealed Suzaku already disarmed the bomb. Lelouch had erased his own memory to deceive Mao. Suzaku defeats Mao, who exposes that Suzaku killed his father to stop the war. Suzaku breaks down. Enraged, Lelouch orders Mao to never speak again, but Mao escapes and gets killed by C2. Afterward, Suzaku is emotionally shattered. Lelouch carries the truth, and life briefly moves on with the school art festival. The Black Knights gain reinforcements, but Todo is captured. Lelouch plans a rescue. The rescue begins. Zero and Callan storm the prison. Zero convinces Todo to fight for victory, not death. The Lancelot arrives. Zero predicts its movements. In a brilliant move, Todo tears open the cockpit, revealing the pilot. It's Suzaku. Zero freezes. Lelouch's plan collapses in an instant. His best friend has become his greatest enemy. Aboard a submarine, Zero reorganizes the Black Knights. Suzaku's new role causes conflict. Dethard wants him assassinated as a dangerous symbol, while Ogi and Todo refuse. Lelouch admits to C2 that his pride and friendship stop him from using Geass on Suzaku. At a school party, Callan tries to stab Suzaku, but Lelouch stops her. On Shikain Island, the Black Knights try to capture Suzaku. Zero lures him into a trap, and a device shuts down both nightmares. Trapped, Zero again asks Suzaku to join him, saying, "Reform from within is a lie." Prince Schneisel arrives and fires a devastating cannon. Lelouch uses his Geass on Suzaku, commanding him to live, which saves him from the explosion. The explosion wipes them from the map. Zero meets Euphemia, who reveals she knows he is Lelouch. He removes his mask and she cries with relief. Lelouch and Euphemia share memories. Searchlights appear, forcing everyone together. Lelouch pretends Euphemia is his hostage. A Geass symbol appears, the ground collapses, and they fall into a hidden cave. Lelouch and Callan steal the Gawain, a flying prototype nightmare, and escape. The Chinese Federation invades, led by Sawasaki. The Black Knights deny involvement. Zero announces his grand plan, an independent nation of Tokyo. On the battlefield, Suzaku pilots the upgraded Lancelot and dominates the Chinese forces. As Suzaku is surrounded and nearly out of power, Zero and C2 arrive in the Gawain and save him. Zero and Suzaku fight together and defeat Sawasaki. Life briefly feels normal during the school festival, but during the giant pizza event, Euphemia arrives, meets with Lelouch and Nunnally, and her identity is revealed. Suzaku rescues her, and Euphemia announces the Special Administrative Zone of Japan, where 11s can become Japanese again. She invites Zero to work with her. The public celebrates, but Lelouch is trapped. Accepting ends his rebellion, refusing makes him an enemy. The plan gains huge support, splitting the Black Knights. Finally, Lelouch meets Euphemia. He shuts off the cameras, unmasks, and plans to force her to shoot him and become a villain. But Euphemia reveals she gave up her claim to the throne for him and Nunnally. Lelouch is shaken and accepts her offer. He jokingly says he could order her to kill all Japanese. At that moment, his Geass goes out of control and activates permanently. The joke becomes a command. Euphemia cannot resist. She walks onto the stage and orders the soldiers to kill all Japanese present. The massacre begins. Horrified, Zero watches as an old woman calls him a savior. With no escape left, he puts his mask back on, declares the zone a trap, and gives the final order: kill Euphemia. Callan disables Euphemia's nightmare, and as she prepares to finish her, Zero arrives in the Gawain and stops her. C2 destroys the machine. Euphemia crawls out, fires at the Gawain, then asks Zero if they can still build the special zone together. Silent and broken, Zero shoots her as Suzaku arrives and sees it all. Suzaku escapes with Euphemia's body. Seizing the moment, Zero delivers a fiery speech declaring Euphemia a symbol of Britannia's hypocrisy and announcing the independence of Area 11. The United States of Japan is born. Later, Lelouch breaks down alone at sea, haunted by Euphemia's death. Zero initiates the final phase of his plan, the Black Rebellion, a full invasion of Tokyo. The rebellion begins with Zero's sabotage. He had already used Geass on guards to destroy Tokyo's defensive walls from within. At midnight, the walls collapse, crushing Britannian forces and opening the path to attack. Zero declares Ashford Academy his command center, officially for strategy, but truly to protect Nunnally. To convince the students, Callan reveals herself as a Black Knight. During the clash, Zero intervenes, lures Suzaku into a trap, and paralyzes the Lancelot with a Gefyun disturber. Zero confronts Cornelia in a brutal fight, but his hidden plan activates. Darlton, previously Geassed, betrays Cornelia at the crucial moment. Zero kills Darlton and moves to capture Cornelia. Zero unmasks before Cornelia, revealing himself as Lelouch. She is not surprised and accuses him of killing Clovis and Euphemia. Lelouch counters by accusing her of Marianne's death. Cornelia admits it, but says Marianne ordered the guards away herself. Lelouch confirms this with Geass and learns Schneisel took the body. C2 warns him that Nunnally has been taken to Kameen Island. Jeremiah attacks again, forcing C2 to hold him off. Everything collapses at once. On Kameen Island, Lelouch and C2 fall into a mental trap. Lelouch sees fragments of C2's immortal past and declares that if she is a witch, then he will be her warlock. Their moment ends when Jeremiah returns. C2 sacrifices herself, kisses Lelouch goodbye, and drags Jeremiah into the sea. Lelouch confronts Suzaku. Suzaku shatters Zero's mask, revealing Lelouch to Callan. Old wounds explode into a brutal argument. Both raise their guns. A single shot is fired. The screen cuts to black. Suzaku captured Lelouch and brought him to Emperor Charles, who rewrote Lelouch's mind, erased Nunnally and Zero, and implanted Rollo as a fake brother. 1 year later, Lelouch lives as an ordinary student at Ashford. He believes Zero was a fool and lives with a younger brother named Rollo. Bored, Lelouch visits the Babel Tower casino with Rollo. There he meets Callan in disguise but doesn't recognize her. He defeats a crime boss in chess, triggering chaos. Lelouch is separated from Callan and falls into a pit, where soldiers shoot C2, revealing Lelouch was bait. She survives, kisses him, and restores his memories. Zero is reborn. With Geass, Lelouch orders the soldiers to kill themselves. Calres attacks with an army. A new golden nightmare, the Vincent, appears. Its pilot nearly kills Lelouch, but a holy sword sacrifices himself to save him. Lelouch detonates explosives, collapsing the tower floor and killing Calres. Zero hacks every screen in Japan, announces his return, and declares the United States of Japan once again, broadcasting from the Chinese Federation Embassy. The final reveal: the Vincent's pilot is Rollo, who also possesses Geass. As he prepares to use it, Lelouch calls him. Confused, Rollo realizes the Zero on TV cannot be his brother. The Zero seen earlier was actually C2, using a voice changer. The next day, Lelouch is worked to the bone by the student council, with Malay showing no mercy, claiming Rivals is useless in the kitchen. He realizes the party is for him and Rollo, but then notices something wrong. No one remembers Nunnally. Lelouch understands the truth. Suzaku erased everyone's memories to create a false world, and rage consumes him. It's revealed that Rollo and Valletta are secretly spying on Lelouch, but Lelouch has already mapped the cameras and plans to use them instead. Later, Lelouch sees Rollo's locket and recognizes it as Nunnally's. When he tries to take it, Rollo fiercely protects it. Soon after, Guilford surrounds the Chinese Federation consulate and gives an ultimatum: surrender Zero, or the captured Black Knights will be executed. Lelouch uses a meeting with Shirley as cover to escape surveillance, causes chaos in a shopping mall, and corners Rollo in the spy room, pointing a gun at his head. Lelouch realizes Code Geass doesn't stop time itself, only how people perceive it. Using his words, Lelouch strikes a deal. He'll hand over C2 and guarantee Rollo's survival in exchange for loyalty. Execution day arrives. Guilford prepares to give the order. Despair grips the Japanese people. Then Zero appears alone in an old, weak nightmare and challenges Guilford to a one-on-one duel. Zero sets the rules. No reinforcements, one weapon each. Using only a shield, he seems doomed until Guilford charges and Zero reveals his plan. He had geased an officer to activate a hidden trap. The ground collapses, splitting the battlefield apart. Britannian soldiers fall as Zero declares the land his territory. The Black Knights are freed and battle erupts. In the chaos, Rollo attacks Zero in the Vincent, believing he was betrayed. A sniper targets Rollo, but Zero throws himself in front of the shot, sacrificing his nightmare. Shocked, Rollo asks why. Lelouch tells him that even without blood ties, shared memories make them family. Rollo's loyalty is secured just as Lelouch planned. He had gashed the sniper to force this result. Inside, Lelouch admits he will use Rollo and discard him when the time comes. That night, the Black Knights celebrate their freedom. Lelouch avoids Callan's questions about Rollo with flirting. Later, Zero faces the Knights. Some accuse him of abandoning them, but Todo and Ogi defend him, restoring morale. The next day, Suzaku officially returns to Ashford. The tension is heavy, but Lelouch acts friendly. The council tries to make Suzaku reveal Zero's identity, but he avoids every question. It's revealed that Suzaku, Valletta, and Rollo are monitoring Lelouch, but Lelouch has already Geassed most of the spies using Rollo's information. During the school festival, chaos erupts. C2 appears for pizza and is hidden in a giant tomato box, while Callan disguises herself as a mascot. Gino steals a nightmare to make a huge pizza, unknowingly carrying C2 inside. Lelouch uses pink smoke to escape with C2 and Callan. Later, Lelouch and Rollo corner Valletta and blackmail her using her relationship with Oki, forcing her to join the Black Knights. That night, Suzaku confronts Lelouch, declaring his goal to become Knight of One, control Area 11, and destroy Zero. He forces Lelouch to answer a call from the new Viceroy. Suzaku uses Nunnally as bait to force surrender, but Rollo freezes him with Geass. In those moments, Lelouch speaks to Nunnally, says he's alive and loves her, and they must pretend not to know each other. When time resumes, Lelouch plays it off and Suzaku believes him. Soon after, it's revealed that Nunnally is in Britannia, set to become the new Viceroy. Zero realizes she's being used and decides the only way to save her is to capture her himself. A massive battle erupts. The Black Knights attack, but Britannia responds in full force. Zero boards the flagship and meets Nunnally, who asks if he's come to kill her like Euphemia. She reveals she became Viceroy to restore the Special Zone. Outside, the battle escalates, but Suzaku storms the ship, grabs Nunnally, and escapes just before it explodes, leaving Lelouch screaming her name. Defeated, Lelouch falls into despair. Nunnally is gone again, and now she represents everything he hates. When the Special Zone's return is announced on live TV, Lelouch snaps. He smashes his phone, abandons the Black Knights, and disappears. He nearly turns to refrain, but Callan stops him and reminds him that Zero carries the nation's hopes, while Rollo urges him to give up and live normally. The turning point comes when his friends cancel their trip to cheer him up with fireworks. Remembering an old talk with Suzaku and Nunnally, Lelouch realizes he fights not only for his sister, but for everyone he loves. Renewed, Lelouch returns just in time as the Black Knights are surrounded by Suzaku's fleet, facing destruction. Out of nowhere, Zero's voice comes through the comms. Using a brilliant tactic, Lelouch detonates methane hydrate deposits on the seafloor, creating massive bubbles that flip Suzaku's entire fleet without killing a single person. Zero shocks the Black Knights by announcing he will join the Special Administrative Zone, but this is part of a deeper plan. He convinces 1 million Japanese people to register under one condition: Zero himself must be exiled. On the day of the ceremony, every person in the crowd is revealed to be wearing a Zero mask. With 1 million Zeros, all must be exiled, and a massive ship from the Chinese Federation arrives to take them. C2 explains the real power in China lies with the High Eunuchs, not Empress Tianzi. With their approval, the Black Knights establish a base on an artificial island. Zero meets the eunuchs and General Shinkai to sign a treaty, though hidden clauses raise suspicion. New nightmares arrive. The Akatsuki units from India, Zangetsu goes to Todo, and Zero pilots the upgraded Shinkaro. Zero discovers Schneisel's plan to force Empress Tianzi to marry Prince Odysseus. Zero confronts Schneisel, challenges him to chess, while Nina tries to stab him but is stopped by Suzaku, keeping the situation on the edge. The wedding begins. Shinkai storms in, but a curtain drops, revealing Zero holding Tianzi at gunpoint. Chaos erupts. Todo battles Suzaku in the air as Zero, Kaguya, and Tianzi escape in a container driven by C2. Zero explains his vision, uniting nations against Britannia. Their escape leads to a broken bridge, another trap. Akatsuki units surround the eunuchs' forces, but the eunuchs counter by releasing Shinkai with a new nightmare, the Shenhu. Kallen fights him, but her energy runs out. Shinkai captures Kallen and escapes. With Kallen taken and the Chinese army closing in, Zero orders a retreat and promises to save her. The rescue attempt turns into a fierce battle. Zero's tactics shine, but Shinkai floods the battlefield using the terrain. Forced back again, Zero retreats to the mausoleum of the 88 emperors. They are surrounded. Britannian Knights of the Round join the assault, and the eunuchs declare they will destroy the mausoleum with everyone inside, including Tianzi. As bombardment begins, Tianzi pleads for peace. Shinkai shields her with the Shenhu. Zero counters with the Shinkaro, whose defense deflects every attack. One powerful beam erases the Chinese army. Zero then broadcasts the eunuch's treachery nationwide, sparking a massive revolution. A new alliance is formed, but Zero learns Kallen has been handed over to Suzaku. Lelouch returns to Japan determined to rescue Kallen and destroy the Geass Order. He's immediately greeted by Gino and Anya, now enrolled as students. That night, Lelouch learns Sayoko has arranged 108 dates to protect his image. To end it all at once, Malay announces Cupid Day, where students swap hats to become couples. Cupid Day turns into chaos. Rollo stops time to help Lelouch escape, Sayoko shows off her ninja skills, and Lelouch saves Shirley from Anya. To protect her, he lies and says he likes her, and they become the event's official couple. Panicking, Shirley arranges to meet Suzaku at a station. Lelouch arrives too. Shirley falls, but Lelouch catches her as Suzaku grabs his leg. Jeremiah returned and Lelouch leaves to deal with Jeremiah. He lures him into a trap and disables his cyborg body. Revealing himself as Lelouch Britannia, he triggers Jeremiah's hidden loyalty to Marianne. Jeremiah kneels, now fighting for Lelouch. A new ally is gained, but the victory is short-lived. Soon after, Lelouch finds Shirley bleeding on the ground. With her last breath, she says she forgives him, and that she loves him. Desperate, Lelouch tries to use his Geass to force her to live, but it's too late. She dies in his arms. Still mourning, Lelouch listens as Rollo confesses that he killed Shirley to protect him. Lelouch pretends to forgive him, but inside he forms a new resolve: destroy the Geass Order and get revenge on Rollo. He contacts C2 and declares war on the Order, including its leader V2. Using Jeremiah's intel, the Black Knights launch a surprise attack on the Geass Order base. Lelouch has planted a bomb in Rollo's nightmare, planning to kill him along with V2. Just as the plan unfolds, V2 appears in the Siegfried. The fight worsens until the escaped Cornelia joins Zero. Together they destroy the Siegfried. Lelouch arrives at a strange dimensional space and confronts his father. Charles speaks of final atonement and the Sword of Akasha, mocking Lelouch's Geass. Seeing the trap, Lelouch shatters glass and commands Charles through a reflection. But Charles now holds a code. He proves his immortality by shooting himself and rising again. Charles throws Lelouch into another realm, where C2 reveals her true wish: to die. She explains her plan was always to pass her code to a contractor strong enough to kill her. At the last moment, Lelouch refuses, destroys the space, and saves her. But when C2 wakes up, she remembers nothing. She doesn't even know who Lelouch is. With Charles gone, Zero forms the United Federation of Nations, a global alliance against Britannia, and the plan succeeds. Yet Lelouch's personal life falls apart. C2 acts like a stranger, forcing him to explain everything, even how to eat pizza. The UFN's first mission is to free Japan, but Charles hijacks the broadcast, declaring total war. Desperate to save Nunnally, Lelouch contacts Suzaku, and they plan a meeting at the Kururugi Shrine as the battle for Tokyo erupts. At the shrine, Lelouch kneels, taking full blame for Euphemia and Shirley, to convince Suzaku to protect Nunnally. Suzaku sees through the lie and agrees, only for Schneisel's troops to arrest Lelouch. It was all part of his plan. He had already Geassed Guilford, who rescues him, while Lelouch triggers a citywide blackout. The Ikaruga rises, and the real assault begins. Suzaku faces Callan, but Lancelot is outmatched. Near death, Lelouch's Geass command forces Suzaku to survive at all costs, triggering Flya. The bomb detonates over Tokyo, erasing the city and killing 10 million people. Zero watches in horror. Lelouch completely collapses, ordering the search for Nunnally's body. The Black Knights turn on Lelouch. They reveal that Schneisel has exposed the truth. Zero is Lelouch Britannia, a Geass user who manipulated them all. He removes his mask, embraces the role of villain, and calls them pawns, so they can live. Before they can kill him, Rollo rescues Lelouch, pushing his Geass beyond its limit. He admits that being with Lelouch made him feel human. Then Rollo dies. Lelouch buries the brother he finally accepted. At Kamini Island, Suzaku faces Bismarck, the current Knight of One, who also has a Geass. Their fight begins, but Lelouch arrives unexpectedly, creating chaos that lets Suzaku escape. Lelouch's real target is Emperor Charles. He confronts him in the mystical Sword of Akasha and destroys the entrance, trapping them both inside. Lelouch confronts his father and demands the truth about his mother's death. Charles mocks him and reveals his plan: the Ragnarok Connection, a world without lies where all hearts are exposed. There, Marianne reunites with Charles. Then the truth is revealed. Marianne was not killed by terrorists but by V2, Charles's brother, driven by jealousy. Charles then uses his Geass to erase Nunnally's memories and commands her to be blind. Lelouch and Nunnally were sent to Japan to protect them from him. Lelouch realizes his entire life and revenge were built on lies, and were part of his parents' plan. Rejecting a frozen world without change, Lelouch uses his Geass on the collective unconscious itself, commanding time to move forward. The plan collapses. Charles and Marianne are erased. 1 month later, Lelouch claims the throne as the 99th Emperor of Britannia, with Suzaku revealed as the Knight of Zero. Lelouch immediately dismantles the old system, abolishing nobility and freeing the numbers. The world is unsure whether he is a savior or a tyrant, but Lelouch and Suzaku follow their secret plan. The remaining Knights of the Round attack, led by Bismarck, but Suzaku's new Lancelot Albion destroys them all. In their final duel, Bismarck's future-seeing Geass fails against Suzaku's absolute command. Lelouch announces Britannia's entry into the UFN and calls for talks at Ashford. There, Callan confronts him one last time, but Lelouch remains cold. The negotiations are a trap. Britannia now controls the UFN vote. Suzaku takes the leaders hostage. Lelouch becomes the enemy of the world. Then disaster strikes. Pendragon is destroyed by a Flya missile. Schneisel claims responsibility and reveals his ally, Nunnally, alive and opposing Lelouch. Lelouch is shaken, but continues the role of villain. Suzaku reminds him there is no turning back. As war erupts, Lelouch and Schneisel move their forces like chess pieces. Lelouch triggers an eruption of Mount Fuji to disrupt the battlefield. Outmatched, Lelouch forces Damocles to exhaust its weapons. Battles rage everywhere. Suzaku breaks through the fortress, while Lelouch infiltrates on foot. Schneisel attempts to flee, but Lelouch Geasses him into absolute obedience. Lelouch then faces Nunnally. She has broken Charles's Geass through sheer will and reveals her own plan to turn Damocles into a symbol of hatred that would unite the world. Realizing she shared his vision, Lelouch uses Geass on her one final time and takes the key. With Damocles under his control, Lelouch declares himself Emperor of the world. 2 months later, he is universally hated. During a public execution, Zero appears, revealed to be Suzaku. The truth is shown. Lelouch became the world's greatest enemy so that Zero could kill him and unite humanity. Accepting his fate, Lelouch smiles as Suzaku fulfills his role and strikes him down. As Lelouch dies, Nunnally finally understands his sacrifice and weeps as the world celebrates peace. If you want more recaps like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know what anime you want to see next.